Today I'm going to paint this watercolour using my new custom brushes in Procreate 4. Hi, Steve Elliott here again. Today I want to show you my new custom brushes that I've made for Procreate for watercolour. There they are on screen. Very excited about this. I'm setting up a new palette here. As you can see, none of my existing palettes were appropriate. I wanted sort of cool greys and a few warm greys. I chucked a lime green in there just in case I wanted to add a dash of colour and a sort of a brighter blue. But that's the palette I decided to use, and here we go. Let's start painting. I started with a preliminary sketch and I imported in my textured watercolour paper that you've seen in other videos. I'll put a link to that below in case anybody wants to get a copy of that. And once I'd done that, I chose my wet in wet brush. I made two different ones actually. So I chose the first one of them in the list, and I put in some local colour that sort of gives you the idea of the wet in wet look, and I quite wanted that hazy look around the sky where the sun's sort of coming through the clouds, even though it is teeming down and raining quite heavy. So then I go in and put some local colour on the walls. This is on a different layer. Every time I get a layer of colour and deepen up the colour, I create a new layer. Let me just talk about how I set these brushes up. I've got a lifting out brush and I put that in the eraser. So whenever I wanted a sharp edge against a dark colour, I would just use the wet in wet, let that go over it, and then use that brush to lift out with the eraser. And it'd be the same way as lifting out with a wet brush and dabbing it with a tissue on real watercolour paper. So that was the brush that I used on the eraser. I've got a smudge brush or a smear brush, I'm not sure which one I've called it, and I've put that in the blending tool. That's it, I've called it a blending brush. The blending brush, so you put that in the blending tool. So leave those two alone once you've got them set up, because I like to push paint around with the blending tool. You can see that happening now. Watch, I'll paint this chimney stack in, and then I'll use the blending tool, there you go, to push that paint around to get the desired effect, and then I use my eraser to just sharpen up the edges. And this is on yet another level. So as you can see, I've stuck really close to blue greys at this point. And this is another one of those paintings that I could see before I even started it. I could see the finished painting. As soon as I saw the photograph, I knew exactly what I was going to do. So the whole thing from start to finish took about 2.5 hours, which is fairly, fast going really, which has meant that I haven't actually had to speed this up as much as I have done other videos. And you can see here I'm switching between the eraser, the smudge tool and the paintbrush. I used, in total, what I'm using now is the rigger brush to paint in the colour, and then I use the small smudge brush. So the rigger brush is going in there, putting in the colour, and then I use the smudge brush, the blending brush, sorry. I use the blending brush to blend out the colour that I've put on. At this point, I changed brushes to the dry brush because I wanted some sort of broader sweeping brushes. But I'm still using the smudge brush. And this painting is all about light. I love painting light. It's sort of becoming a bit of a theme in my paintings. So I'm leaving lots of white areas or light areas on the pavement that's been caught by the rain, and on the covers over the stalls. But if you also notice, look at the rooftops. I've not painted them like the photo at all. The photos, they're quite dark, but I wanted the impression that the light is bouncing off the roofs because they're wet as well. So I made a decision there not to put in dark roofs. Plus, it would have sort of cut the painting in two, and I wanted it to be more sort of, I won't say abstract, but I wanted it to blend together better and not have any really defined sharp edges across the rooftops. I wanted them to be sort of blending in with the sky. And you can see the initial wash that I put on the sky becomes the colour of the rooftops. So now I'm into painting the people, and I'm going in with a really dark colour. The watercolour paper texture is put at the top of the stack, and I've set the blend mode to colour burn on that. And the advantage that has, it actually makes the colours beneath it a lot more vibrant and deep. So that's kind of an added bonus. So I really like that. That's now going to be my default setting, I think, for when I use this paper texture, colour burn on the blending mode. Anyway, back to the painting. If you look at the people, you'll notice that I haven't gone for detail at all. I've not even sort of painted up close to the lines on the drawings and the colours merged together and blend together. I wanted it almost as if the rain was beating on your face and in your eyes, and you was having to blink to see the scene, so nothing was in sharp focus like it would be on a sunny day. I wanted it all to be really loose and blurry, so I haven't put any detail in at all. What I'm doing now, I changed the eraser to the dry brush and just lift out a few of the cobblestones and then soften them off with a blurring brush, just to give the impression that the light is sort of bouncing off some of the cobblestones on the pavement. Here we go, painting another character. You can see that I sort of put the colour in and then just push it away with the blending brush, and I use the blending brush to create the shadows. I'm not worried about detail of hair or anything, or faces. Then I put some dark colour under that canopy. I have to be careful here that I don't get sort of a rectangular line cutting the picture in half. So I do use the blending brush again, and I also use the use of highlights on the character's shoulders and sides. But I mean, that's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Well, it's not a double-edged sword at all. It's a bonus two ways. The light was bouncing off them, so you would put that in anyway, but it also helped sort of break up that horizontal line that I'd got in there. And also I used sort of a misty few strokes to give the impression that there's people the other side of the stands as well. Just a suggestion, there's no detail, just a brush stroke. The nice thing about doing shadows when it's raining is that you do not have to worry about feet. You can just blur them away. That was a gully in the pavement, if you're wondering what this sort of black line is, where the sort of rainwater was collecting and draining away. So I'm just sort of putting in the last few people. I'm using a cool colour. It is cool, but there's definitely a touch of red in that dark colour. And I put that in for the old group. I'm not worried about picking out colours of clothes and things, although I do just put the hint of blue-green in there, just to add a tiny little bit of colour. And then I use the eraser to lift away colour, to put a sort of an halo around the edge of the people. And there you can see the blending brush being used to its fullest extent, and now the eraser. So I'm very happy with how these brushes have gone. I am going to put them in a pack. I'm going to put them with the existing brush I made before and the texture paper. I might create a few more textures, and I'm going to put them on Gumroad. They won't be on there just yet because I'm still tweaking them. I want to get them exactly right. I'm very happy with what they're doing so far and the result of this painting. Really pleased with that. I think it does look like a nice wet in wet watercolour. Because I've got the brushes set up how I wanted, I was able to do it really quick. So very pleased with them, and I am going to make them available, but not just yet because I just want to tweak them a little bit more. Anyway, that's it. I've signed a painting. Thank you for watching. I hope you've liked this video. If you have, as usual, a big thumbs up is always appreciated, helps me out a lot. And if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing because I have lots of videos like this, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Bye.